Shane Bieber. That's a hell of a set. Thought I'd open up the show with a little music until I guess Gerald gets here. Hi, Gerald.
Oh no, I watched the whole performance.
I was gonna let it go another minute, but I figured since you came on, I'd
thank God you don't. Well, thank God you don't have 1,000 subscribers yet and get paid for this stuff because that.
Obviously the beat belongs to somebody, but I think the lyrics might not be registered yet, so I figured maybe I might get a chance to.
I don't think anybody cares because if you're not making money on it, they might.
For those of you who have just joined us for the first time, this is The Experiment. I'm your host, Joe Soro. Welcome. I should say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening is usually how I open the set. But I figured a little music, a little continuation of what has gone on here for the last week and a half, at least for Dodger Nation. And I usually don't use that word nation. That's normally restricted, at least for me, in the Raider Nation area. But people like it, so I'm going to roll with it. But we're still on top of the mountain here. And again, this is not we won the championship finally feel. This is a return. This is a repeat championship. Repeat championships are extremely rare in baseball. So rare that the last time it happened was a quarter century ago. Just to put that in perspective, since 2000, when the Yankees three-peated, the NFL has had I think it might be two repeats. Yeah, two repeats. NBA has had, if you count the Lakers' third championship, two repeats there. They repeated again in 2010, and then Golden State repeated in 2018. So, yeah, that's how that goes. And speaking of repeat, if tonight's game against the Lakers with OKC was any indication of what's to come, we might be including the Oklahoma City Thunder as the other team that may be repeating. That was an absolute clinic. Probably the best defense I've seen in a long time, even though there have been some good games in the last few years. With that, I just thought it looked like the Lakers, and I'll get to the Dodgers again, guys. There's some hot stove news that's coming up again. For those of you who have been here for the first time, this is called The Experiment because we talk about football, baseball, basketball. We can go into any sport. So we'll be talking about the three major ones, though. We'll be talking a lot of basketball since we're in season in the NBA right now, as well as college basketball. And then, of course, tail into a little bit of the hot stove in Major League Baseball, as well as obviously the NFL. But in the meantime, since what was going on tonight was more Laker talk, the Lakers looked like they quit. I would even say maybe I was saying in the second quarter, they might have quit at the end of the first.
They quit on tip-off, Joe.
Was it really? I mean, they were up 10-6, weren't they? Or 10-6?
Yeah, but then as soon as they fell down 17-10, I think that was all she wrote.
When that happens, that's when the reason why I said that was some of the best defense I've seen in a while is because that's what usually happens when teams quit that early. It's just they're in that mode of we can't get anything. We can't get anything. We can't get.
And what just want to say, and this comes on the heels of what they did last night, where they shut down Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors in the same exact fashion.
And I find it hilarious that there are fan bases, there are people who watch the game that think that the back end of a back-to-back with a team that's as young as Oklahoma City is, that's supposed to somehow affect them. For those of you who aren't in the know, when you're in your mid-20s or let's say creeping up to your late 20s, that is young. You got these guys are supreme athletes, and back-to-back should not affect anyone. That's a mental thing. And it looks like Oklahoma City, at least for tonight, took your little theory, flipped it on its ear, and took a piss on it. And that's how it should be, because I'm sick and tired of hearing about, oh, it's a back-to-back. Luka's 26. Reeves is what, 27, 28?
28, I think.
28? Ayton is 26. You know, when these guys play back-to-back, this shouldn't be an issue. Okay, I didn't play NBA basketball, but I could run backwards for days when I was in my mid-20s. Imagine that. So, and these guys are paid to be professional athletes. They're paid to have the best people around them to keep them in shape and to keep them going. So, this narrative that back-to-backs are horrible for teams is, I hope tonight showed you that they just stuck that right up your Yahoo and said, we are champions and we are going to work you. And that's not even with a full squad. Imagine that. So Lakers, by the way, for those of you who don't really know what the hell we're talking about, Lakers got waxed 121-92 tonight. And there weren't really any bright spots other than maybe the first quarter of the quarter.
If you want to take Dalton Connect's play in garbage time, that's up to you. Again, his first game this season where he's actually proved competent from behind the arc. But as you and I talked about last season, a lot of the times where he got a lot of his points was in garbage time. So I'm hoping he can at least take the confidence from this to be able to go ahead and build upon it. But yeah, other than that, there wasn't really much to say.
Well, let's put it in some statistical perspective here. The Oklahoma City Thunder had 6 players with 2 steals or more. That's how dominant they were. I don't even think they had a blocked shot. They were stealing so much. Let me go back to the stats here. I don't think. Oh, they had 1. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, it got. Oh, okay, never mind. I guess they kind of racked that up before I saw it. They had four block shots. Oh, that's right. The Lakers didn't have a block shot. The Lakers didn't have. I was thinking. I don't know why. Maybe my brain was hoping for things, and we all know what happens when you hope. The game again. It's one game, and there's still 70 left. However, this was a game that likely will do one of 2 things, at least from my view. You're going to go into the hotel tonight because you still got to go play New Orleans, right? You still got to do a couple things in Milwaukee, and then you can go home before you have to go back out to Utah, right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do to understand that this team needs to be more, if they're not fundamentally on point, they're going to have better athletes. So it's just one game, and the Lakers typically play well against Oklahoma City. So I'm gonna kind of scale back just a tiny bit, but at the same time, this team is likely going to get better. That's what championship teams do usually. They get actually better, especially when they're young. They're going to get better, more experience, more that feel of we won and now, we have the confidence to win more. But what you saw tonight is something that we usually see in the playoffs, and that is I'm going to have to pick on Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. What happened, Gerald? They got athletically worked, and they're not necessarily athletically gifted like most of the guys in Oklahoma. And that's in a regular season game. So what's going to happen when the playoffs come? And what has happened the last 2 to 3 years, even though Rui played a little bit better last year, Reeves, there's a debate on whether he played better than the year before just because he didn't play as well the year before. Did he play a little bit better? Yeah, that's an argument that you can have one way or the other. But in the end, the athleticism matters, especially if that athlete is skilled. That's the other thing, is if that athlete is skilled, you're going to have a problem with the guy that's skilled and not athletic, especially when they turn the volume up, which they do in the playoffs.
But you got to remember that's why Austin Reeves wasn't drafted in the first place, was because of the lack of athleticism and what they perceive to be skill. Now he's developed a lot of skill in his game, but the athleticism he can only make up for so much, Joe, and we saw that tonight.
No, and then, again, that's where fundamental basketball is. What is it either catches up to that, or you have to have players maybe in and around him that could mask it. And LeBron James coming back isn't going to mask that, just for the record. What the Lakers are going to need is they're going to need to play better basketball, better fundamental basketball. They're going to need to make their shots when they do have a little bit of a gap. Otherwise, they're going to fall in these cracks, these large cracks of not being able to keep up with who they're playing. I don't know any other team. Well, let's go back a second. A few games ago, they got worked by Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Atlanta has a lot of athletes. So the Lakers are going to have to make a decision in understanding what they're going to have to do to compete this year. They're not in the last 2 games against athletic teams that can score, they have gotten blown out. So either you meet that talent, or you have to be so fundamentally sound that you even the playing field there. So just to give you all, again, I'll put the positive hope on this. San Antonio Spurs, all those years that they didn't have the athletes, they were so fundamentally sound. They were able to combat the Miamis in 2013. Almost won that and should have won it. 14, they came back with a vengeance and obviously did work everybody. It wasn't just Miami, it was everybody. You have the ability to do this. That's why basketball is such a great sport, is if fundamentally you master that particular part of the game, you can combat really any kind of athletes, any kind of team, as long as everybody's kind of on a string together, right? I don't know. I don't know if the Lakers have that kind of mental game. I have never seen a LeBron-centric team, even though Luka's supposed to be the guy. And even Luka's game doesn't really it resonates to ISO type centric game, right? So Luka and LeBron have the same game in the sense of that they're usually the masters of the game, but they're gonna have to, at some point, the team is going to have to, meaning management, meaning people that are going to acquire talent and build this team into what it needs to be a title team. They're going to need to put that together. They're going to need a system. And I've been very happy with how the team has played and how they've sort of created an identity. People like Marcus Smart, people, I know DeAndre Ayton looked like Kwame Brown tonight, but those guys were giving the Lakers a little bit of an identity in that they were going to scrap and they were going to ball and they were going to do what they do to give this team a little bit of an attitude and a little bit of an identity of a team that's going to scrap no matter what. Tonight was the first time I saw them this year quit. I mean, they didn't want to scrap tonight. Tonight was no Moss, Roberto Duran against Ray Leonard. No Moss. And I don't know if it's going to be a scar or it's just one of those things where maybe they had a late night, maybe the road trip finally caught up to them and they got beat up pretty good. It could be that. It could be that. I saw the Lakers during their three-peat time lose 4 times to Seattle in 2002. They lost both at home and both in Seattle. And I remember they got blown out by I think they got blown out by the Clippers by 30 in one of those games as well. So these games are bound to happen. However, this team can't really afford to allow themselves that. They're not the type that's going to be able to turn it on, at least not from what I've seen. So what is it going to take? What is it going to take to get out of this game and go, well, we're going to do better the next time we meet these guys, 3 more times? So it's not good, but we're going to have to wait probably a little bit longer. I don't think you can really judge much after 12 games, and being 8-4 with the injuries that they've had, LeBron not being there, I guess we could look at the bright side on that, but this is about winning championships, and if this is what Oklahoma City is going to be without even a full roster, it is going to be a major problem there.
Again, that's like you said, they didn't even have their full roster tonight. They didn't even have their full contingent. Their second best player wasn't there tonight. Wiggins, Dort, key rotation players for them, Joe, also not there tonight. And then we were remarking on playback, again, the way not only that, Joe, the fact is you realize next year they own the Clippers pick. And with every loss, the Clippers get closer and closer to the lottery. They lost Bradley Beal to a season-ending hip injury. Kawhi is out for who knows how long. They look terrible as Jokic, the guy who I said was the MVP earlier this week, 55 points tonight as they dominated the Clippers. They have the Clippers' number 1 draft pick, which could end up being number 1. It was mentioned by Sean that they could be the last. They could be the team. The last team to do this was the Lakers, where they win the championship and then get the number 1 pick 2 weeks later, or a few days later, actually. So that's scary, Joe.
That happened.
Scary.
Yeah, and Detroit got close.
Yes,
Detroit was close with that. Not all the way, because they didn't win a championship. They won a championship that year. But they had the fortune of being able to draft second, even though they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. And had they drafted Carmelo Anthony, I feel very confident that they would have ended up beating San Antonio in 2005, while obviously after they've won 2004. We'll never know. But again, the Lakers in 1982 won the championship and then drafted James Worthy a few days later. Yep. There was a lot of debate on whether it was going to be James or Dominique Wilkins. And that would be a good what if. That would be a good what if Dominique was the guy instead of James. Now, James is a Hall of Famer. James was as important to those 3 titles that they won after that as anyone on the team, believe it or not. I don't know how it would have played out. I don't know. I don't know. Do they challenge Philadelphia in 83 more? Because Worthy was injured for that run. Do they beat the 84 Celtics without him? There's so many questions there, but I'm kind of veering off a little bit. The point is, Oklahoma City at this point, I think you hit it on the head, Craig. Oklahoma City right now is the LA Dodgers of basketball. And I don't think there's even an argument. Not because they won a championship. It's because of how they continue to build and draft and put together a consistent team. I mean, I don't know who's doing it better. Brad Stevens had an argument there when they won in 2024 up in Boston. I think there's still a good argument there, but the problem is they're going through an ownership transition. So I don't know how that new ownership is going to be. But Oklahoma City with Sam Presti is sitting back now and seeing kind of sort of what's going on in LA with the Clippers and going, are these guys really going to get Darren Peterson to boot? For those of you who don't know who Darren Peterson is, college player for Kansas. Are they really going to get a potential star point guard to put with Shai Gilgeous?
AJ Debonsa. What if they get him?
Him too. He's
Boozer. Cameron Boozer.
Do they get Cameron Boozer or do they need him because you have Chet Holmgren there? And I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's going to depend on if they do in fact get. How I have to say this though. I mean, again, I don't watch college basketball like I wish I could because I just can't follow everything. I'd never leave home. But Gerald, seriously, if they get, I'm pretty confident that Peterson's going to be the first pick. Minus a injury or some weird thing happens.
He looks pretty good, but on top of that, the last part of the Paul George trade is in 27, Joe, because they have the swap rights on the Clippers as well. So the Clippers if the Clippers clip the next 2 seasons, OKC gets the benefit from that as well. Oh my God.
So a little lesson for everyone, and I try not to address the negativity with social media isn't so much the social media. It's the idiots, the millions of idiot morons who are clueless and stupid in pretty much everything in their life, and then they've been given a forum to speak. That's the problem, right?
Yep.
Those same people who think that billionaires are why you're winning. Well, folks, no one's more rich in sports than Steve Ballmer. He's the richest owner in sports in North America. The last time I checked. Unless there's somebody else that I don't know about that just took over. Is it the Waltons in Denver? I don't know. I think Ballmer has more money than Waltons. Look what he did for a guy who had probably one of the worst Uncle Dearest representatives, put his own nephew in a shit situation. If he had just let his nephew go to the Lakers, he would have been able to calmly play well and allow Anthony Davis, LeBron to be there with him, and they would have stacked rings. And everybody would have gotten credit, and everyone would have been a reason why they were winning. Wouldn't have been anything with, oh, well, you're playing with LeBron, he's going to get all the credit. No. Anthony Davis got a lot of credit in 2020 playing with LeBron. And you sacrifice that for what? So your stupid ass can have a plane? What? Making $200 million wasn't enough to go get your own plane? You cost your nephew multiple championships. You cost your nephew a jersey sitting in the crypt next to the legends of sports, not just basketball. Also, you can have what? An extra credit card, This is why I'm very adamant about money and people's greed with money. Look what it did. You built Ballmer and the idiots, Uncle Dennis and all those guys built what will likely be a dynasty in Oklahoma City right now. You built that because of your greed, and you won dick in that time. At least if you had won a championship, you'd say, well, we took one championship. It is what it is. You haven't won shit. You didn't even go to a finals, let alone win a championship. Look what you did. For what? Let this be a lesson to all those people who are greedy and want more and more and more. Look at Juan Soto. Juan Soto wanted a luxury box, and this is after a $765 million contract. He wanted a box. Oh, and he wanted a stipend for his mother's clothes or something. And what happened with the Mets this year, Gerald? What did they do?
Choked.
They did dick. They didn't do anything. They didn't even make the playoffs.
Yep.
With all of these extra things that baseball has now, they didn't even make the playoffs as a wild card. The Cincinnati Reds got ahead of them. The Cincinnati Reds payroll is like the cost of this. So let that be a lesson. Let that be a lesson to everyone. Because there's no better way to prove stupidity, idiocy, and what works and what doesn't work more than facts and results. What is the result? Oklahoma City has the same payroll as this as well. But the NBA shares their money. The NBA now has a pseudo hard cap, and they've had a soft cap, obviously, all these years. So they're able to do what they need to do to build a team. And they have. And they'll have to let some guys go at some point. But what's that going to mean? They're going to be able to re-up this year. Even if they get a top 4 pick, they're still going to get talent. Presti can draft stars from 1 to 10. So you know that. They're going to definitely be in there. If they don't get the first, second, or third, they're going to be in the lottery no matter what. And then they're going to have another one in 2027 because the Clippers are going to continue to suck ass. So what does it take? What does it take? Nothing is 100%. You have guys that do it one way. They do it another way. What is the line? There's more than one way to skin a cat. In the end, you look at how the team construction is. Why is it working? It's working because you have the stars, you have the chemistry, you have the right coach, you have the right executives, you have the right atmosphere, the right attitude. All those things make a champion. It's very, very rare that a team that's dysfunctional will win a championship. The only reason why the Kobe, Shaq Lakers were not, I guess, not winning championships during their dysfunction is because you had the modern day Wilt Chamberlain and the next Michael Jordan on the team. They were too talented to lose. Too talented. And even those guys, as talented as they were, still broke. They broke eventually. But in the time that they were able to play, they won. So there's always an exception to everything. But in this situation, you have a team that has been fleeced in the Clippers willingly. For what? So that Uncle Dennis and Kawhi Leonard, does Kawhi Leonard even know what a private jet is? The guy drives like a Tahoe. What does he need a private jet for?
I think he's got a helicopter instead, though. But yeah, I remember him asking for a jet as far as his famous thing that he was asking for the Lakers, and also as well the
cool, bro. I'm gonna say this because it's you. If you say another stupid comment like Tom Brady is a horrible quarterback, you will be unsubscribed by me. If you want to talk football, we'll talk football, but don't say stupid stuff like Brady is a horrible quarterback. That is a stupid, moronic comment. Even a kid as dumb as you shouldn't be saying that. Okay? I don't want to hear Brady's a horrible quarterback coming from you. So I've put the gauntlet down. You got to learn some hard facts. You're young, you're dumb, you don't know any better, and no one seems to be telling you that somewhere. Okay? Just make sure you stop saying that. Otherwise, you're going to be gone. Thank you, son. Yes, that is true. Justin Fields is a horrible quarterback. Well, anyone who says that Brady's a horrible quarterback is dumb. So you said it, not me. You said it, not me. You said it, and you said it more than once. That makes you dumb. So don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. Somebody needs to tell people on a regular basis. This is the problem with society in general. Too many people let stupid comments go. And those stupid comments continue the idiocy of that person saying stupid comments until someone like me comes out of nowhere and tells you how stupid you are. And then you'll get defensive. And then you'll go cry to mommy or daddy, or you'll go talk to some counselor that'll say, hey, it's okay. He's a jerk. He's conceited. He's a narcissist. Don't believe him. When in the end, you're still stupid. Doesn't matter what I am. You're the one doing the stupid stuff.
Yes, we will say with Tom Brady, you cannot say Tom Brady without saying success with the rings. It just, he is one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. And yes, the hardware he has to back it up. Stafford's having a great season. Might want to consider him for MVP. I understand. I get that, Kubro, and you're on cloud nine. But you know what? He's got quite a few championships and quite a few MVPs to go before you can put him anywhere near the stratosphere of Tom Brady. And at his age, he ain't going to do it. This is the best you're going to get from Matthew Stafford. Enjoy it. He's got resurrected. He's healthy for the first time in a couple seasons. Enjoy it. Savor it. You can revel in it all you want, but don't start comparing him to Brady because it's not even a contest. It's
Joker, you got to understand something here, man. And I had this talk with my boys in Australia before we got on.
That was fun. I flipped over to your playback and I was like, I saw you were watching the two Australians. They were on the stage together, Joe. How incredible was that?
Well, again, when you understand how they work, you tend to enjoy the theater. Again, I'm not a normal person. I enjoy chaos. I enjoy the heat, whether it's coming from me or coming from somebody else. Call me a sick person, call me whatever. It's just what it is. And no one provides the heat as well as those guys when they're on. And I enjoy every second of it. Enjoy it on our chat. Enjoy it on playback. Enjoy it randomly out of nowhere, anywhere. It's just what it is. So, and by the way, son, you don't ask dumb questions. You are interesting. You do ask interesting questions, but very, 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 I like originality, even if it's a little trollish. If it's original, I will support it. But Cool Bro has a problem. See, Cool Bro is a kid. And there's no better time in life to be, let's say, uneducated than when you're a kid. That's why you're a kid, right? However, even if the kid needs to have his dumb moments, stupid moments, that's usually reserved for, oh, damn, I should have turned right instead of left here and I crashed into a pole. That is dumb kid stuff. That's in some way acceptable as long as you don't kill anybody and you weren't drunk. But what you also need to do is understand context. Again, you guys have heard me say context. When someone says, whether they're a kid or an adult, that Tom Brady sucks as a quarterback, that person needs to be corrected. Because there's two reasons why someone said, actually three reasons why someone says that. One, they're just saying it to piss you off or to troll. The other is they're really that dumb, or there's someone that have no idea who the hell Tom Brady is or what he did. That's it. Cool Bro knows who Tom Brady is. Cool Bro likely has seen his stats because he keeps telling me he knows statistics better than I do, which is complete bullshit. Doesn't know shit compared to what I know. He wasn't even alive for 90% of the shit that I know. Not even that, maybe 95%. But he's talking again out of his ass, and no one tells the kid. Like, I'm doing a service for him. We're doing a service for him. It doesn't matter if you like Tom Brady or not. Saying he sucks as a quarterback makes you you're stupid. Not makes you look stupid. You are stupid if you say that. And that's a fact because he's not a bad quarterback. Matter of fact, he's probably the greatest of all time. But that's an opinion. If you want to say that you like Matt Stafford better as a quarterback, then you're entitled to that. But to say that he's a bad quarterback is dumb. And there is no argument against that. So that's it for me with Cool Bro. Cool Bro is an irritant. It's why I don't like children except mine, because children usually are like this. And there's no parent out there slapping them in the face, waking them up. So there's that. George Springer and Jose Altuve suck. See, son, now you're kissing my ass. Don't kiss my ass. Don't kiss up. That's another thing I don't like. But you're right, though. The George Springer thing could not have gone better in this series because Yamamoto was brushing that piece of shit off so many times during. Somebody had to have told him, like, hey, fuck with this guy a little bit, like Kershaw or something, right? And then he got him too once. And this is after he got hit in the kneecap. I wish it had broke enough to where he played with it. But again, you take what you can get. And the last at bat that piece of shit had, actually, it was two instances that I loved about this. He was on deck when they had that double play in game 6 at the end of the game. He was on deck. I was so excited that he had to sit there and watch that he couldn't get an at bat while his team lost that game. And then the last at bat against the Dodgers was a strikeout because I don't think he's coming back to Toronto unless he takes a really, really low salary.
So free agency is around the corner, my friend. I want to hear your thoughts on who the Dodgers should go shopping after, because obviously they still, despite the back-to-back, we want to get more, getting hungry, getting greedy. What do you do in order to go ahead and get more to the Dodgers? Because I do think they need a little bit more.
There's two things.
And perhaps
I know Murakami is a discussion, and I had talked to the boys from Australia about this during playback when we were watching the Lakers down 30 for pretty much the entire game. The Murakami thing is interesting because somebody mentioned something the other day, and it kind of got me thinking. Is somebody trying to sabotage the Dodgers from signing him? Now, that's from a fan perspective, not from guys like Friedman and Gomi and Gomez. Gomi is the GM of the Dodgers, by the way, guys. Brandon Gomes. When I say Gomi, it's Brandon Gomes. Those guys, they know. They're gonna know. So I'm not really worried about it. But looking at it from this perspective and kind of being in the moment, they're trying to say that Murakami is not going to translate here because he apparently can't hit velocity and he strikes out a lot. And to put some history in this, those are the same things you heard about Teoscar Hernandez. And we've seen it, and I've been frustrated by it. Not so much last year, but this year for sure. I thought I saw a lot of at-bats that Teo had where I thought if he had just been a little bit more disciplined, they would have been able to score or he would have been able to get the walk that when they needed it, right? So if we're going to base what baseball is currently right now, which is slug heavy, much like the three-point shot in basketball, slug is what wins games. As much as it sucks, you have to just watch the 2025 World Series to understand that, especially Game 7. You'll see all the proof there. Slug won the championship. And it sucks because a lot of times the sluggers are striking out. They're not taking the walk. They look undisciplined. But in the end, what we saw was Max Muncy hit a home run in the 8th inning. Rojas hit a home run in the 9th. And Will Smith hit a home run in the 11th in the most crucial times while the Toronto Blue Jays were popping and singling and loading the bases or getting 2 on and then coming up short playing small ball. That's facts. That happened. And it happened over and over again. So Murakami, I think the issue with him beyond the hitting part, let's just say the velocity issue isn't, maybe he'll adjust as he gets here, right? He'll be fixed a little bit, whatever. Where's he going to play? Is he going to play first? Is he going to play third? Are the Dodgers going to rest Freddie Moore this coming year? Are they going to rest Muncy Moore this coming year? Those are the questions you probably want to ask first if the answer is yes, and you don't have to have Murakami be an integral part of the rotation, not the pitching rotation, the everyday player guys, then sure, having a bat like that can show up every now and then and pop a couple home runs, cool. Let's rock and roll. So that's where I am with that. Now, to answer your question, what I believe is going to happen for sure, because $87.5 million just came off their books compared to what they've had this year in total contracts, right? Kershaw, Chris Taylor's money, Conforto, those guys, right? All the guys that had 1-year deals left or got DFA'd, and they paid the rest of their contracts. So what do they need? They need, and it's not something that is not obvious, they need a right throwing closer type. Whether it's Williams out of New York, whether it's Diaz out of New York, the other New York team, the Mets, that could be something there, because now they will have a righty and a lefty, because I feel that Tanner Scott will come back next year and be better than he was this year. Relief pitching is a weird thing. It's a real weird thing. And to go back on that is Diaz. If you look at Diaz's, I think the last 5 years, he has been great during the odd years and has sucked during the even years. So if you get Diaz, he might be having his bad year coming up. So I don't know if that's going to play into the decision-making there. But what it proves is that relief pitching and even starting pitching sometimes guys just don't hit certain times. That used to happen to Randy Johnson sometimes back in the day. He'd go so hard 1 year and then he'd need another year to recover. Like that happens sometimes. So it happens more often usually, especially now with the way baseball is, and the needing of relief pitching happens more now and with the relievers now. So I believe they're going to get the right why am I not clicking on what I'm saying here?
Well, I mean, I know Diaz's name has been thrown out there. Amai from Japan has been thrown out there. Mm-hmm. Those are the pitching as far as the top pitchers that have been mentioned in the category of the Dodgers. I know Tucker. I don't know if you want to lean into that, because that's a pretty hefty payday if you want to really get into him. If you really think Betts is sliding hard, and you, like you said, you want to rest Freeman more. Might be something you want to consider as well with Tucker.
Tucker's unfortunately going to get, I think if the Yankees are smart with that short fence in right field, I think that's the guy they should go after.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect player that they need. And somebody that can field, someone that can take advantage of that short field, that short fence. And
you might have to go over $500 million to get him, because its price tag looks like around $4, but I think you might have to go $450 or $5 if you want to get him.
For me, I'm struggling at anybody paying him more than $400. Even $400 to me is a lot. Really, I would give him. He's 28. With the way the contracts are, I'd give him 10-3. I'd offer him 10-300. I don't think he's worth 400. He's just not. I don't think he's not that guy. Hell, I thought Juan Soto was worth 400, let alone 765.
You saw what happened there.
Yeah, and that's it. Ohtani cannot be the barometer to anything. He's an outlier of all outliers. Okay, that man got paid $350 million to pitch and $350 million to bat, and each one of those is a bargain, because he brings in money that Juan Soto will never bring. Ohtani brought more money in 1 year than Soto will bring in an entire contract. It's different. And, of course, you have the results on top of it, which is not even fair. Like, not only is he making – you talk about Bronny James selling jerseys, okay? Imagine Ohtani's the guy that sells jerseys at number 1, by the way, and wins MVPs and pitches and wins series MVPs and wins back-to-back championships. I mean, come on. It's the greatest contract that's ever been given, other than maybe Michael Jordan in 1997 and 1998. 1997, for those of you who don't know, Michael Jordan was severely underpaid his entire career because of the way the salary cap was structured in the NBA and the fact that the NBA didn't hit their big money area until about the late 90s. Mid-90s, you started seeing like the Glenn Robinsons get the $100 million contracts. But in terms of like AAV, no one touched. Jordan didn't have that going on. He was getting all of his money really from endorsements. But then in 97 and 98, he was able to get 30 million per that at that time. And that was a lot. That'd be the equivalent right now of basically 60, 70 million, maybe more. So he got it for only a couple of years. Then, of course, they won back-to-back They won championships in both those years, and the rest is history. So to me, other than that, it's Shohei Ohtani's kind of in that same world. The benefits of those two things, Gerald, you'll like this comparison. It's like Titanic or Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Box office and Oscars.
Yep.
Same thing. That is a rarity. It is very rare, and when it happens, it is movie magic, right? Like the studios, the fans, like everybody wins in that. So this is what that is. So what's at stake now for the Dodgers? I'm curious to I want to feel we're going to know probably a lot of things by how certain contracts are going to get done and who and what. Pay attention to this. This is something that everyone needs to pay attention to. What is the likelihood of certain contracts going a certain way, and will it determine on whether there will be a lockout at the end of 2026? That's the question. I don't know what that is yet. I have to see what gets built up. But if I see contracts that don't necessarily come to fruition because they're waiting on a certain answer, then I'm going to know, wait a minute, why didn't he take that contract? Oh, he's waiting for this thing to blow over so he can get a bigger contract. That means there might not be a lockout. Or maybe there'll be guys that will take on as much as they can now. Because remember, guys, when there's a lockout, they don't get paid. Do they want to be making that money? Again, I know it sounds weird, but there's going to be guys out there that be like, hey, man, if I just wait, I will get 40 million instead of 30 million. That could happen because they're not going to get paid if there's a lockout. So the Dodgers, in my view, need one player that can play Gold Glove-like outfield baseball and someone who's a contact hitter. Byron Buxton, Stephen Kwan, guys like that, I believe are one of those guys. I believe is the kind of player they're going to go after. Someone that could do both, and then they're going to get a right-handed reliever to flip-flop.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you because I was on you the whole entire season. I said the Dodgers are going to go as far as their bullpen will take them. Now, mind you, they had their starters in the bullpen when it really mattered because they showed less and less faith in their bullpen during the course of the World Series. But where would you focus on as far as relievers are concerned? Because I still think I understand Tanner Scott bouncing back. I get that. I understand that's a definite possibility. But what they need more. They need something more because again, right now, Trinan, I don't know if what's going on there. But I really think that they need to go ahead and have a better bullpen this time around because you can't always rely on your starters saving your day for your bullpen in the World Series.
I think Blake Trinan is done. And it makes sense. He's in his late 30s. I feel very confident that Tanner Scott went through some stuff this year that might have been off field. I don't think it was primarily
He wasn't the only one in that bullpen that was going.
Now Vesia is a completely different story. That happened abruptly, unfortunately, because his wife was his wife was, on social media, cataloging what was going on, and that was apparently something that came up at the last minute. It wasn't something that they had to deal with. So I believe that Vesia will come back. They already picked up his option anyways, and I think he'll be fine. Jack Dreyer was a rookie. I think he'll continue to be. I think he got worked a little too much this year. Started kind of simmering down a little bit towards the end of the year, but I think he'll be an asset as well. Evan Phillips is going to be back. I don't know if he's going to be Evan Phillips from before, but I'd like to think he will be, and that will help. Tanner Scott, I have confidence that I think he'll be able to wash what happened here and get back on track. And then, whichever guy that comes in that's a surprise, or whichever extra signing they do at the end of the free agency period that would help. I think it'll work out in the end. I don't know if they're going to get another starter. I don't think Skubal's going to be an option unless the Dodgers think that they can get him without giving up too much in terms of assets, in terms of their farm system. I don't know. It'd be interesting. And that's one of the signings that would trigger this thing. So hear me out here, Gerald. Tell me what you think.
Again, I think that's very sound. But
if the Dodgers get Skubal, let's just say they do, they trade for him. That means there's going to be a lockout. That's a guarantee.
What about someone like Devin Williams, who's also been attached?
Well, Devin Williams. So now it's kind of similar to the Tanner Scott thing. Mm-hmm. And do you want to have a second pitcher that you're going to kind of hope that they get over what happened the year before? I mean, it's one thing to get over one guy. You want to do two? Wouldn't it be easier just to get Fairbanks? Can he handle high leverage situations? He's suspect there. It's weird. You're going to be wrong. You're going to look like an idiot when you're wrong. You're going to look like a genius if you get it right. But there's no for sure get him, and he solidifies your bullpen. There's no such thing as that guy anymore. There's no such thing as a Trevor Hoffman. And even Trevor Hoffman, as great as he was, got worked in the 98 World Series, right? You look at Clase. Clase before, obviously, now he's done with baseball forever. But Clase, he was the best closer last year. Got worked by the Yankees in the ALCS, right? There is no such thing as the Mariano Rivera's anymore. And really, who else? Who's been that guy anyways? And even Mariano Rivera, my memory of it, and I talked about this several times, my two memories of Mariano Rivera that are embedded in my brain are the two games he blew. So I don't look at baseball ending games anymore in terms of, okay, get Gagne in there. Once Gagne is in there, we're set. Every single World Series that the Dodgers have closed in the last 6 years, which is 3, it was closed by a starter to win. In 2022, it was Julio Urias. Last year was Walker Buehler. This year was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So what does that tell you, G? There is no closers anymore. There's no closers. There are situational relief pitchers now. Closers are gone. In my view, I'm not seeing it anymore. And the Dodgers, why ruin a good thing? Let your starters finish the sucker and deal with it later.
But they test you, Joe, all season long. It just, like we said, I mean, they were like 20th, I think, overall is what they ended up in ERA. It just tests you. So we just have to, okay, if next year the same thing happens, again, I just have to go ahead and say, you know what? We're going to roll with the punches because, again, it might not look great during the season, but like you said, Joe, when it comes right down to it, there's no closer for the Dodgers. And when it counts, you're going to have your best guy, Yamamoto or Otani, coming out of that bullpen to try and finish it on out.
And that's fine. The Dodgers are in a very good area here. So you have Blake Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Otani. River Ryan's going to be back. That's, River Ryan, before he had to bow out, he was looking like he was going to be the next guy. And of course, the ever loving, shoulder or Tommy John thing. The Dodgers, I don't think, have a problem with the starters at this point. And then you still have the Will Kleins, the Anthony Bandas, the Emmett Sheehans, the Robleskis, the Hendricks, Edgardo Enriquez. Sorry, Hendricks. Gratterall still going to be back. You still have Kasperius. Oh, and Gavin Stone, before he bowed out in 2024, he had logged in more innings than any pitcher that year. So Gavin Stone, River Ryan, and then you have somebody like Will Klein, who became a World Series relief legend in those 4 innings he pitched to keep the Dodgers in Game 3 before Freddie Freeman hit the game winner. I mean, I think they're in a good space. No, they are in a good space. They have plenty of starters, and they can spread this sucker out. I think what they need now is they need one really good, dependable right-handed relief pitcher / closer that could mirror Tanner Scott, depending on who they're pitching to in the bottom of the ninth, and then try and see if you can get a couple guys. And I think they have a couple guys already on the roster, guys like Hae-Sung Kim, young guys, right? At least one guy in the outfield that can play Gold Glove baseball, whether it's center field or whether it's left, and then contact. Imagine putting somebody at 9 that could always get on, because Pages was struggling in the playoffs there. If Pages had played like he played in the regular season, the Dodgers might have swept everybody. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
And they were close. They lost 2 road games in this entire playoff. No, wait, they lost 1. One after barely going over 500 for the entire year. The only road game they lost was Game 1 of the World Series. They won both in Milwaukee. They won both in Philly, which was amazing, by the way. That was the shocker of all shockers. Winning both games in Philly was a shock. The most shocking almost of anything that happened in this year's playoffs, even though the World Series was crazy good. And then they won the last 3 in Toronto. Pretty crazy. But, yeah. So to answer your question again, Gerald, I'm looking at a right-handed relief / closer. I think they're going to go after. I'm pretty sure they're going to go after that, whoever it is, whether it's Diaz, whether it's Williams. And then I believe they're going to get a everyday, younger, more athletic, defensive, contact hitting player. And Stephen Kwan is 28. I think that's probably more appealing than Buxton. I think Buxton's 32. Let me see here real quick. Byron Buxton. He is 31. Yeah. But like I said, I'm curious to see how the signings will go this year in baseball. If the Dodgers go after Skubal and get him, that means 100%, 100% that there's going to be a lockout after 2026. No, Arenado's too old, son. He would have been good 3 years ago. Now he's considerably. He can't hit really. I trust Max Muncy in big games too much to get him out for Nolan Arenado. And Max Muncy, there's an argument that his defense at third in this playoff run actually saved them in these games. They might have not won these series if he doesn't do the wheel play. Some of the stops that he made, that bullet that he got, I think from Clement in Game 6 for the first out, like that sucker came at him like a freaking missile. Caught it. Muncy was as clutch as you could have needed a guy being clutch, not only on at the bat but also at defense. So I wouldn't touch that, especially at $10 million. They picked up his option as well. I think he's got another year left, and if they want to give him some time to rest throughout the year, I think that's probably a good thing to do. I think that's probably the good thing to do, and that's where getting someone like hell, you could even go. I even was talking to Empire Jeff about this. If you can't get Quan, if you can't get Buxton, Arise is somebody I would love to get. Now he's not as good on defense, but that sucker, it makes contact. Imagine putting him at the 9.
Yeah,
the amount of perspiration you're going to have batting, throwing to a guy that does not strike out, and you're waiting. You're basically waiting. A 3-time batting champ, by the way. And you have to deal with Ohtani after that. See, the Dodgers haven't had that guy since the 2024 playoffs on a consistent basis. When they were putting Edman at the 9, and he was getting on base, and then Ohtani was just the perspiration there. And then, of course, you had Mookie and Freddie behind him and just messing everything up. Like, the Dodgers, absolutely more important than even a right-handed relief pitcher. I think they need to get an everyday defensive stalwart that can make contact. I think that would work wonders at the bottom of the lineup. Let's see, Dodgers going for a 3-peat, then we'll get the rest in the lockout. See, that's the thing that I'm trying to figure out. Where are these guys? Where are these guys going to go? Understanding what's going on now. Would you say baseball was popular this year, Gerald?
I thought baseball was more popular than it has been even last year or in recent years. I think the ratings proved to be the case, that people were intrigued. This World Series, Joe, I mean, you and I called it the best World Series we've ever seen in our lives. But as a visual, as a storytelling World Series, I don't think I've seen many better. And that's what draws people in. I think that 18-inning, just awesome game to watch. It just really catapulted everybody as far as into watching it, into must-see TV. And you could tell in the ratings how well they did as far as for the rest of that series, Joe. I think this was one of the better years for Major League Baseball as a whole. But we'll see where it goes through from there. And if they do have a lockout, Joe, yes, that's great for the Dodgers as far as if they do win 3 in a row and they get some rest and all that. But you see it, before with lockouts, people have a tendency to piss on, the leagues when they have a lockout, and it takes some time to get that momentum back.
So I think they said between Japan, Canada, and America, there was 51 million people watching the World Series.
It's so huge in Japan. My wife went to Japan last year, and everything is Ohtani in there. Everything is Ohtani. It got to the point, Joe, that she was navigating her way or telling the rideshare her way via Ohtani's. That's really how she got back and forth from the hotels. Like, she knew where she was going by the various Ohtani advertisements. He is huge. I mean, seriously, Joe, he is absolutely huge when the game is on. Yeah,
it's important to make way. It's important to make this understanding here. Ralph, no, you're coming up, but you're not blocked at all. We can see you. This is my channel. This is not LFB, by the way.
And I fixed that. You should be okay now.
Yeah.
I fixed that, I think, a couple weeks ago when you first brought it to my attention. So I was like, apologize for that. I know that was an accident, I was told, and like I said, I hopefully I corrected that for you on that.
So in baseball, the baseball union is one of the best, and this depends on your perspective, on one of the strongest unions in the country. So the owners are going to have to make a decision, especially if they see, and I'm going to get to the end of this because it's very important. The ending part of this is important. The owners are going to have to call a possible bluff that might not be a bluff. If the players union says we will never accept a salary cap, the owners would probably have to lock out for 2 years to get them to break. Baseball players are not like football and basketball players. The football and NBA unions are some of the weakest unions in sport, in anything, especially the NFL, because most of NFL players are horrible with money, need the money weekly, and all they got to do is, all the owners have to do there is say, hey, we're not going to pay you and unless you do what we want, and they're going to submit. Owners in the NFL are every team in the NFL is worth $1 billion, right? They can wait it out whatever they want. Doesn't matter. So basketball is starting to creep up into that area too, even though basketball is still weak there as well. People want to make their money. And in baseball, there's a little bit more, I don't know, maybe baseball players are better. Maybe baseball players are more used to not playing for a lot of money, or they already have enough money and they can withstand it because they play in the minor leagues. They get paid that. They can do that, right? That's kind of their mindset. You can't do that in the NFL. You can't go back to college and make money. I mean, I guess you could if you're still eligible. I don't know how the rules work on that, but that's at least now. But the reality is baseball players can wait it out, and it's shown they have a history of that. If they go into the negotiation out of the gate between now and the end of 2026 and say, we will never sign anything that says a salary cap unless you give us this floor. Now, the floor is like in the NBA. What's the NBA, Gerald? You have to pay at least up to 90% of the salary cap?
That's correct, because if you don't, you incur penalties.
Correct. So now, if they do say yes to a salary cap, if they said yes, they're going to obviously want a floor. And I believe 100% that they're not going to get the 8 votes, to the 8 owners out of the 30 to say, yeah, we want a floor and we want to do all that. I just don't see it. So they're going to need to make a decision here, because this is the big point that I'm going to make here and put a button on this. Gerald, when was the last time you saw the best player in the league in baseball be a perennial player in the biggest games of the year?
Outside of Ohtani,
before Ohtani. When was the last time in your memory? I'm talking about perennial, not 1 year. I'm talking about, this is 2 years in a row that he's been with the Dodgers, and he's been involved in some of the biggest games in just 2 years.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back a bit. I really would, unless you consider pitching. But I'm not of the type that says pitchers are the greatest players in baseball, because they don't play out. They don't play on an everyday basis. So it is really hard for me to come to that agreement that a pitcher that solely pitches is the best player that they have, because we've seen some pretty great pitchers achieve the World Series in recent years. But yeah, in recent years, Joe, I wouldn't put Altuve there. I would, yeah. To me, it's kind of hard. I'd have to go back.
Aaron Jeter, as great as he was, and believe me, if I had to choose a career, if I had to choose a athlete's life, I actually would choose Derek Jeter over anyone. And
you can't even use Bonds because Bonds only made it that one.
Honest to God, if you came to me right now and said, "Joe, which career would you have?" And again, I have to base this off of what I've seen in the last 35 years. No, wait. 37 years of watching baseball. 100% without even hesitation, I would choose Derek Jeter. 100%. He had the perfect career in so many ways. But Derek Jeter was never the best player in any time in his career. And you're right about pitchers. Pitchers pitch every fifth day. You need an everyday player.
Did you say Pujols? Did he have enough?
Pujols was the closest. Yes, he was the closest of the current era of like recently. They won in 06 and they won in 11.
Yeah,
and he was a perennial. Like they lost in 04, they lost in 13. Which he was already off the team, so I don't know if that counts. That actually doesn't count. Michael Jordan was in basketball. I'm talking about baseball. Dre, I was talking about baseball. Good call on that, by the way. I should have been clear on that. I'm talking about baseball because baseball is extremely difficult to be the best and be a winner. It's almost like what we were just talking about, winning an Oscar and winning the box office. It's very rare. Baseball is so hard. When you look back at even this series, okay, you could look at 7 players on the Dodgers alone and say, hey, if it wasn't for this guy's play, they don't win this game and they don't win the championship. Think about that. 7. Will Klein, 4 innings. Edmonds, slide, throw to third base. Pages, Teo's home run against Philly. Shohei, Yamamoto, Roki. I just named you 7. It might be 9. Might be 10 if you really dissect it. So in baseball, the last time you had a perennial best player of his league in the show year in and year out, like you see a Jordan, like you saw a Kobe, like you saw LeBron and a Steph Curry, every year those guys were at the cusp or winning, right? You don't get that in baseball. It's very rare. The last time where you got a lot, like consistently, other than maybe Pujols to a degree, is honestly, I think my memory is Mickey Mantle in New York. Mickey Mantle was the last guy. Think about that for a second.
So you don't consider Reggie Jackson?
Reggie Jackson was not the best player. He was the best playoff performer. But he wasn't the best player in baseball in the 70s. Am I wrong there?
No, because he's Mr. October for a reason.
Right? So when you look back at I'm gonna bring this up here real quick. The 70s. Let's look at the 70s. I have a little bit of memory of the 70s, the Vita Blues and those guys. But let's look at the best players of the 70s.
All right, because I know no Joker is putting in their Maddox, but it's just so hard for me to get.
You had the Willie Stargells, which you could say probably one of the best of the decade, and the Pirates won in 71 and 79. But you also had Dave Parker on those Pittsburgh teams too, who won an MVP. You had the Rod Carews, you had the George Fosters, you had the Joe Morgans. Some argue that Joe Morgan might have been the best player of the 70s. Reggie Jackson did win an AL MVP in 73, but you also had Pete Rose. You also had Johnny Bench. Is Johnny Bench the best player at that time? So you're asking questions. Remember when you have to ask the question, is it really true? Like, is this guy a Hall of Famer? Is that
players, no jokers? No disrespect to Maddox, but it's just position players. You've got to put a position player that plays every game, every
and
day,
Joker?
every
Yeah,
other fifth game.
and Joker, you have to understand those Braves teams, as phenomenal as they were, they lost too much when it mattered. That matters. Like we need the wins. So, to me, we're asking questions to the answer. What is? It cannot be a question. It has to be definite. Is Ohtani the best player on the planet right now? Yes. Are the Dodgers the best team on the planet? Yes. Did they just win back-to-back titles in the first 2 years Ohtani's been playing? Yes. Those aren't, you can't argue against any of those. Those are all legit, right? So then let's look back at the 50s and the early 60s. You had Mickey Mantle winning 3 MVPs between 56 and 62. And the Yankees were in the World Series practically every year during that time. I think he won 7. I think Mantle won 7 World Championships. Yeah, 7. So for me, no one argues that Mickey Mantle wasn't the best baseball player at that time. Half the country named their kid Mickey because of how popular he was. So, other than Pujols, I think has a little bit of an argument there, but I don't think because this thing is not done yet, Gerald. Ohtani has 8 years left. If this man wins 5 championships in 10 seasons, he's that guy 100%. Hell, it might even happen next year if they three-peat. So it's very rare in baseball. Very, very rare. And Darryl Strawberry, unfortunately, didn't play long enough to be the best player in the league. He was a Rookie of the Year in '83. Phenomenal player. And Yogi Berra, I as good as Yogi was, Craig, I never considered him better than Mickey Mantle. He was more of like the Sam Jones of baseball. Sam Jones is the guy that won 10 championships as a Boston Celtic next to Bill Russell. Yogi Berra won, let's see here. Yogi Berra won won 2 MVPs. But is he considered one of the best players in history, Gerald?
I would say he's considered up there, but I know that no joker's trying really hard on that Maddox for best player. But again, when you're playing every 5th day, it's just not the same, as the guys going out there every day. I cannot put it there. I can't get there, no joker. I can't get there with any pitcher who no matter how great they were. Maddox is one of the greatest of all time. I can't get there with it every 4th or 5th day. I just can't get there. The guys that are out there every single day, every single inning, that's who I have to go with as far as the greatest baseball players of all time. That's just me. Like you said, Son, KGJ, one of the great ones. Yeah, absolutely. Y'all biased. No joker. Nothing but love for you, my friend, though. Nothing but appreciation, man, for sticking with us. But I can't get there. I just can't get there.
No. This has nothing to do with being biased. You can't put someone as the greatest.
But we have a bias towards everyday players as opposed to pitchers. So
it's not a bias. You have to be. We're talking about the greatest of all time. Greatest of all time is available every game, not every 5th game. And even when Maddox was that guy who won 4 straight Cy Youngs, he still couldn't take the team into another level when it mattered. I'm sorry, it's just not. It didn't work out that way. Even though it's a team game, I understand that. But you can't. Much like how you can't, in my view, you can't put a center as the greatest of all time because a center doesn't control the ball, at least not for the first 70 years of the NBA. I know that Jokic now controls the ball, but
He did today against the Clippers. That's for
it's
sure.
changing. It's changing, right? I guess you could say that might be what separates that argument one day, and that it looks like it's happening. Mount Rushmore of baseball. Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah, no one's doubting Maddox's greatness. I understand 18 Gold Gloves. I understand 4 straight Cy Youngs, but it's every fourth or fifth day. I just can't get by that, no trick. I can't get around that. I just can't. I can't get around any pitcher putting him on this list of the greatest of all time because of, like Joe says, it's every fourth or fifth day.
So what are we doing? We putting Ohtani, Ruth, Mantle, and Mays.
Ooh. Tough has Hank Aaron in that mix.
I'm torn between Willie Mays and Hank Aaron.
Well, I put Mays slightly. I know Aaron. I just think Mays on both.
Or do you take out Mantle and put Hank Aaron in there?
I would probably put Mantle. I'd probably put Aaron above Mantle. Slightly. I don't know.
Right.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong either which way.
So here, let's do this. It's Ohtani, Ruth, Aaron, and Mays. I know Joe D has an argument there too, Craig.
Uh-huh.
He does. But I said the last guy. So you could say before Mays, before Mantle, you had Joe D. It's got to be. Ohtani's not there yet, but he's on his way. It's got to be like it is in the NBA and the NFL. Brady went to 10 Super Bowls. Joe Montana went to 4 Super Bowls. Who else was great in football? Recently, you had Patrick Mahomes every year, AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. Yeah. Football, basketball, obviously basketball, I already mentioned how that works out. It's just not the norm in baseball where the best player on the planet. Bradshaw, Craig, was never the best football player of that era. He was a money player, don't get me wrong, especially in the last 2 Super Bowls he won, but he was never, and he even won an MVP in 78. He was never the best football player of that era. You could argue that the best football player of the 70s, I don't know, would you say, I mean, you because it was such a running back heavy decade, would you say it was
Franco?
O.J. Simpson, or was it
OJ on his pro career? Take the other stuff aside. OJ with his pro career, it was brief at a high level to me. It was brief at a high level for me. I mean, it wasn't extended as far as his years.
Earl Campbell? Was he the best football player of the 70s?
I would lean more towards Campbell than I would, or Franco over Simpson.
Okay. Jim Brown was obviously the best football player of the 50s and 60s. But yeah, it's just rare in baseball. Again, you got to go from Ohtani, which is on his way, to maybe a little bit of Pujols. And as far as the steroid guys, I mean,
Bonds.
I mean, guys, Bonds might have been the best hitter that anybody ever saw, but I really want you guys to look at Bonds' statistics from 1987 to 1999. And just tell me what you think. OPS, on base percentage, batting average, and his statistics in the big areas like home runs and RBIs. And then once you once you realize that those 14 years, what those numbers were before you started seeing things change, in my view, after 1999, you tell me what you think there. I hope my buddy Adam isn't watching because him and Bonds are boys. But it is what it is, right, G?
Yeah.
I mean, players don't get better in their 15th season. What do you think? Am I wrong? Now, Bonds is a Hall of Famer.
He was just so good. I mean, like you said,
He was very good. He was very good. He was extremely good. He was my
early 2000 years, man.
He was in my. I had arguments with people in the 90s saying Bonds is better than Griffey. Everyone thought Griffey was better than Bonds. I'm like, no, he's not, because they loved Griffey. They loved the 45 home runs and the 120 RBIs, and they loved the swing, and they loved the swag. They loved the style. And they loved all that. I'm like, no, Barry Bonds is better than Ken Griffey. I had that argument over and over again. And people were amazed that I was having that argument because I was a Dodger fan propping up Barry Bonds. I'm like, it's not about me, you idiots. It's the facts. He is a better player than Ken Griffey Jr. The problem, though, is he became subhuman in 2000 through 2004 to the point where
he was an MVP, though, Joe, in what was it, 90, 92, and 93.
Yeah, he was the 3-time MVP before he started juicing.
Yes.
He was in the Hall of Fame after 1997. If he had retired in 1997, he would have went into the Hall of Fame in 2002. 2003. There is no denying that. There's zero way of denying it. He did not need steroids to be a Hall of Famer. He was already in the Hall of Fame, but he wanted the notoriety. He's a competitor. He looked at Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire and said, these guys don't have shit on me. Plus, I am not letting them getting over on me.
Plus, he was getting older, Joe. So he felt like he needed to compensate for it. And boy, did he.
Yeah. Well, again, the problem is now let's put this in a different scenario. What would Ohtani be if he was on steroids?
Oh, geez, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. If you give Ohtani steroids, is he hitting 75 home runs? I want you to imagine this, Gerald. Ohtani strikes out 200 times a year.
Yeah.
Essentially, right? He's a slug guy. It's part of the game. Those of you who don't know, he's a slug guy. He is going to slug. That's why he strikes out a lot. That's his game. Now, he slugs better than anybody, obviously. You can argue that Aaron Judge is there too, but Ohtani's a better baseball player than Judge. Not in a lot of ways, but in the same way as maybe Judge has a better eye for the ball in terms of average, but everything else is on Ohtani's side, right?
Uh-huh.
So imagine this. Imagine Ohtani not striking out. He struck out, I think, 180 times this year. Almost 180 times. Imagine if he only strikes out 90. And half of those home runs. I mean, he hit 80, 90 home runs. You see the difference? He'd be hitting exactly, Craig. He'd be hitting 600-foot home runs. Definitely 500 at the norm. So I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying it helps, especially in baseball. What would Joe be if he were on steroids? I'll tell you what, man. If I was on steroids, I know I have the genetics, especially if I put the work in for. Well, now I'm 47. If I had started taking steroids, and which was something I actually considered in my late 20s, early 30s. If I had taken steroids and been smart about it, and work my ass off for like 10 years, I have no doubt that I'd look like a Greek god. No doubt. Has Ohtani hit the ball in the water yet? Yes, he did. He actually hit it last year, JY. Go Google it and just put Ohtani McCovey Cove, and you'll see it from earlier this year. That was the first time, I think. Joel and Stereo is reporting sports. I don't know, Jared. What do you think? You think I'd be hotter than I am now? There's certain steroids that do certain things, right? So, Trenbolone. Have you heard of Trenbolone, the steroid? Okay. Well, it's short for Tren, right? Tren is when I've talked to people about Tren, it does everything that, other than get you what you want physically, at least for the temporary, it's negative everywhere else for most people. But it's good in terms of building muscle. Again, that's the whole point, right? I don't think I'd be in a marriage if I was hotter than I am now. I can control the heat. What happens when I can't? That's a scary thing. I would never do that. It was nice listening to you, Joe. Have a good night. Bye, Ma. Later, son. Good to talk to you, brother. Joe on Stereo. A full cycle like a bodybuilder. Yeah, the shrinking of the balls was always something that scared me. And every single guy that's on that stuff has that happen. There's no way of it not happening. It's just what it is. At least the ones that are competing, from what I've heard. Let's see here. Imagine Cool Bro tickets. Anyways, by the way, GG's Joe on Sunday didn't think the Steelers would play that bad. I didn't think Aaron Rodgers was going to play as bad as he did. Normally, I would be on Mike Tomlin for the team not being prepared, but Sunday night was really on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders. He couldn't make a pass to save his life that night. I don't know what it was. I don't know what happened. Just one of those things. My shit is peanuts when I'm on test. World Series is still sitting. Yeah, Aaron, I have not come off the high, Gerald. I don't know about you, but I am, and I'm still watching videos. I opened my show obviously with the song. I don't think I'm going to be off this for a while. And
why should you be?
And if they get, this is different though, man. I mean, I was excited last year, but back to back, the first time in franchise history, this team has been around since 1884. I mean, 116 plus 25. 141 years, didn't repeat this storied franchise. I'm actually excited about them catching up to St. Louis. They're not going to catch up to the Yankees anytime soon, obviously, but man, it'd be nice to see if they can get 11 like the Cardinals.
Yeah,
they just passed the Giants. They've tied the Philadelphia / Kansas City / Oakland / Las Vegas A's with 9, and the Red Sox with 9. So the next championship would pass those guys, and then they'd be in third place behind the Cardinals and the Yankees. So I'd like to see the Dodgers at the very least in this next 8 years of the Ohtani era to at least get 3 more. Get 3 more, past the Cardinals, and I think that's, you can't really argue winning half the time of his contract. I think that's a pretty good thing. Although I think they got 6 in them if they can get lucky. I think that's going to take a little bit of luck. You could say this last World Series had a little bit of luck in it. But again, I'm looking forward to the journey. I don't think I'll ever be as nervous as I was for this series. So that's a good thing. No matter what happens next, I think I've burnt out that without a doubt. And it was the worst nerve-wracking series I think I've ever felt, even more so than the Lakers and the Steelers Super Bowl. So With that, my God, when you're on the show, the time goes by like quick. So we're already an hour and 36 minutes in, but I wanted to thank everyone for being on tonight. Unfortunately, the Lakers got their butts handed to them. We did talk a little football, but not, again, we could have gone into a tangent with the Steelers, but I know some of you guys are not Steeler fans, and most of you just wanted to kind of crap on Cool Bro like I like to do most of the time when he talks out of his butt. But Dodger talk, Laker talk, a little bit of football, a little bit of this, and that. Again, thank you for being on the show. And for those of you who are new here, who haven't subscribed, who haven't liked, who haven't hit the notification button, please do so. Those of you who just signed on tonight, thank you so much. I try to do a show every week. Sometimes it ends up going like every 8-9 days, but I'll try to keep it more consistent as the Lakers season keeps going on. I try not to take away a lot of the attention, especially away from LFB, because that's the Laker channel. So again, I'm trying to be a good guy here. But with that, please, if you guys have any comments, any questions, please hit me up on YouTube, or you can email me, or you can hit me up on Instagram. Just go ahead and put Joe the Experiment. You'll find me on Instagram, or just message me here, and I'll be able to contact you right away. But until then, have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening. And until next time, I'll see you next time.